Well, right now, 5 new search warrants are revealing a lot more about the death investigation of Eve Rogers.
A lot of unanswered questions here. She's the 12-year-old girl who was found dead in her Enfield home back in March. And court documents reveal a lethal dose of an allergy medicine were in her system when she died. Your reporter Anna Stansfield is live outside the police department with all this new information. Anna.
Yeah, well, toxicology reports show that Rogers had more than 5 times the lethal dose of a drug most commonly known as Benadryl in her system the night she died. Now, the medical examiner has still not released her cause of death, but investigators say the evidence they're looking into right now could lead to a murder charge. A new toxicology report shows Rogers had 23,000 nanograms per milliliter of diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl, in her system the night she died. A lethal dose for a child is 4,390 nanograms per milliliter. The medical examiner said it would take 1.8 liters or nearly 60 ounces of Benadryl to reach 23,000. They also say Prozac was found in her body too. Right now, investigators are working to learn how Rogers had access to these drugs and how she ingested them, as experts explain the dangers of an overdose at this level.
Any drug, any medication, even over-the-counter medication, for example, like Benadryl or diphenhydramine, can be dangerous, especially if not taken as instructed.
Police have now requested search and seizure warrants for Rogers' stepfather, Anthony Federline's Snapchat and Facebook accounts, as well as his CVS and Amazon purchases from the start of the year leading up to Rogers' death. Federline was arrested in early April after DNA swabs from a sexual assault kit performed on the 12-year-old girl positively matched him. And Enfield police is telling us that they're requesting that further search and seizure warrants be sealed to protect this investigation moving forward. Meanwhile, Federline is due back in court for those sexual assault charges later this month. I'm your reporter live in Enfield, Anna Stansfield, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.